going to run.
All right, here we go. Game one of the grand finals. It is Azumarill into the Drapion, a matchup that we've seen time and time again. And the Typhlosion is hanging out in the back here, ready to go. But this Drapion needs this crunch debuff, as we've seen before.
Yeah, needs the crunch, and he's throwing that first crunch there on great timing. And we'll see if we'll get the debuff. You're not going to shield the resisted crunch on ElCalvisimo's side. In comes his first crunch, goes through, and no debuff. This is really setting up nicely for ElCalvisimo.
Yeah, it's definitely a spot that you're not too upset to be in as the Azumarill, because we know ElCalvisimo, he's saving his shields to that Typhlosion in the back. He's not going to use any shields here. Crunch can go through, whether there's a debuff or not, and there's still not. You're actually quite comfortable letting this Azumarill go, recognizing that after this play off goes through, you would be able to incinerate down. As Pokemonemaker, you're sort of like, oh, okay, I'm giving him the shield advantage. This is ElCalvisimo's dream, ready with that advantage. But as you mentioned, the Claydol is in the back.
The Claydol is in the back, but there is the Superior on ElCalvisimo. So I think he realizes he's got a Grass and a Fire type in the back. So he does want to keep that shield parity and win switch here. This Ice Beam will go through. It will do a lot of damage, but it may not quite KO the Drapion. Here it comes in, and it's still deep in the red. Oh, and we've got an Insta-Swap. No, an Insta-Swap from both trainers. And now we are off to the races with this Energy Rock Tomb. Comes through.
Okay, I like this from Pokemonemaker. He's locking in the Rock Tomb buff. Obviously, it's sort of a scenario where he threw it 12 turns. ElCalvisimo got a free 2 turns, essentially. But by locking that in, the Incinerates are doing a little less damage. This Blast Burn is really going to hurt ElCalvisimo all the way at 100 energy, back-to-back Blast Burns, and Pokemonemaker going to let this go. It may have the Rock typing, it may have debuffed with the Rock Tomb, but it's still enough to carry the Credilli.
It is, but look, we are now in a Typhlosion that has no shields, and there is a shield over there on Pokemonemaker. So Elwin going straight in for that Mud Slap. Gets 2 Mud Slaps through. This is doing a ton of damage, but in comes the Blast Burn. This is a major call for this shield.
Oh, nice call from Pokemonemaker, recognizing how much damage that Blast Burn would do. Is a little bit far away from the Rock Tomb, but will outpace the Typhlosion. Can throw it before the move comes through from Typhlosion. This will KO, and now there is a full health superior that Pokemonemaker still needs to deal with. He does have a very healthy Claydol here, and a little bit of a Drapion in the back. I almost feel like it's catching a move that is almost the only win con here.
Yeah, it is tough here, and ElCalvisimo is not going to give a chance because he is able to throw on a timing of a 3-turn move versus a 2-turn move. It is impossible for Pokemonemaker to catch. Down goes that
Claydol. Drapion now going to come in here. The Superior is close to the move. Even tries to catch the move, which almost could have given a win condition to Pokemonemaker, but it turns out Azumarill still healthy enough to bubble all the way down, and ElCalvisimo taking out the first game in this best-of-5 set. Again, where Pokemonemaker has the advantage.
Pokemonemaker definitely had the advantage there, but it was that Superior into that Claydol. It was the Typhlosion into the Credilli. It just lined up so well for ElCalvisimo. When they both insta-swapped, it just went to ElCal's favor. If it was the other way around, we have a totally different scenario happening.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not an unreasonable play from Pokemonemaker to sort of make that swap into Credilli. I think if you're in his position, you sort of understand, okay, I do need an energy advantage on my Credilli. If I'm going to see that Typhlosion later, which I am expecting, then you sort of want that little bit of an energy advantage, because I've seen many a Credilli be able to outpace a Typhlosion, and if you can get some Rock Tombs through, all of a sudden Typhlosion is actually in a pretty bad spot. But you need an advantage. If you're going at exact parity, which is what we saw in this particular game, Donata, there's nothing, there's nothing coming through there. And Typhlosion is going to be pretty comfortably able to take that win.
Yeah, because you need 15 turns to get to that first Blast Burn, you only need 10 turns to get to the second due to the residual energy on that Typhlosion, which is what's really made it so effective here today for ElCalvisimo, taking out game number 1. So check 1 to ElCalvisimo. Pokemonemaker, is he happy just to learn and educate himself, or does he really want to go hard and pull out something to get this game, sort of the matchup over in this first sort of group of battles in the series?
Yeah, because again, the pressure must be on Pokemonemaker. He's sitting there knowing he needs to win this match against ElCalvisimo if he wants to be the Melbourne regional champion and qualify for the World Championships. There's a real slim limit of opportunities after here if he does not succeed in this matchup. He's gotten so far. He's won against so many opponents. He just needs to get through ElCalvisimo to become the champion. And now at 1-0 down, he's bringing the Drapion into the Talonflame, which is another good matchup for the for the Drapion, and there's no Typhlosion.
There's no Typhlosion here. So it will be very interesting to see if Pokemonemaker makes that hard read on the no Typhlosion or is going to look at staying in. But look at the Incinerate damage coming through from that Talonflame.
Look, I'll be honest here, Trotter. There is some real alignment gaming that could come out in this particular game. There is a Credilli in the back on one side, a Azumarill on the other, a Talonflame in the back on one side, and a Superior on the other. There is some real opportunity if this Drapion can take out this Talonflame, but these players don't usually just, tap, and play every single matchup straight. They are very dynamic players. And so as you see the fly come in from the Talonflame, Pokemonemaker has to make the call, can I get an energy advantage on my own Talonflame? Decides that it's a little bit too risky at this point, and actually is going to swap into the Talonflame to catch the move.
Wow, swapping in, but this will do a very handy chunk of damage to that Talonflame. Imagine if that was the Brave Bird.
Oh, that would really, really hurt. But now ElCalvisimo is able to bring the Azumarill into the Talonflame, and Superior is in the back safe.
Superior is sitting pretty there. It will be having to deal with that Drapion as well. And here comes the move coming in, the Talonflame. It is the fly. It is not the Brave Bird. And look, Azumarill, nom, eats that one up. And I think we're going to go for a bubble down here.
Yeah, it looks like that is what we're getting. We're only getting a fly from Pokemonemaker. ElCalvisimo recognizes that Talonflame does not have enough energy to throw a Brave Bird. Comfortably going to bubble down here. Switch timers are not up, so just has to take it. And now you've got a Credilli that doesn't want to see Ice Beams, and a Drapion that, to be honest, also doesn't want to see Ice Beams. There's not a lot of health there.
No, there's not a lot of health available, and he's going to come in with the Credilli. But Azumarill, again, somehow ElCalvisimo's got to 100 energy on his Azumarill, and look at the damage there. It is absolutely ripping into this Credilli.
I don't know how ElCalvisimo is finding all this energy on all these Pokemon, but he just keeps doing it again and again and again, bringing the Credilli down into the deep red now, and here's a hard swap into the Superior, comfortably taking the Rock Tomb. Even though you are now switch-locked into a debuffed Superior, the attack debuff going to stick around for the next about 40 seconds, you're actually in not a bad spot because Pokemonemaker has to swap into this Drapion. A Crunch, not going to take you out, and Superior is going to get to a move before Drapion can get to another.
Yeah, it is, but they've both got one shield here, so look, these poison stings could add up. No defense fall. Now, it is going to be super close in this matchup. It is coming down to this Drapion is going to need to take out all three Pokemon potentially for Pokemonemaker, but ElCalvisimo getting those poison stings, and down goes Superior. Doesn't get to the move. There's a lot more HP on that Drapion than one would expect.
Yeah, but even a single Incinerate would actually do a lot of damage, but I think you might need to invest a shield to be able to get an Incinerate of damage here. So instead, actually tries to catch the move, but fails, which means Talonflame is gone, Azumarill is coming in, it is energy dry, and this Drapion essentially just needs to throw 2 charge attacks, and Pokemonemaker has brought this game back and brings it back to 1-1.
Wow, I think ElCalvisimo tried to get a little bit too cute there, going for the peekaboo, and it did not come off today. I think another strategy could have been just to send out that Talonflame, try and get that Incinerate of damage, and as long as that Incinerate goes through and applies the damage, you're sitting quite pretty. Or even if they throw the charged move onto the Talonflame, you're in a great position just to bubble everything down, which is not something you hear us say very often.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, based on the speed at which that Talonflame went down when it was swapped in, it looks like it was only one Poison Sting then KO. So it turns out that if you did swap into the Talonflame, you actually would get KO'd before the Incinerate damage would register. So it wasn't an unreasonable play from ElCalvisimo, right? You were sort of hoping like, well, I don't think that my Azumarill can do it. It's actually a very high-level strategy in that he actually transferred the damage, right? He sort of, he saw a Poison Sting coming, and before it sort of hit into the Azumarill, here's Azumarill to sort of take it. And so you sort of gain a turn in that sort of realm, but, unfortunately there was just so much energy ready to go on that Drapion. And the fact that, Azumarill used to be on 100 energy into that Credilli matchup, but after it was energy dry, there was just nothing for it to do up against that Drapion.
No, it was a little bit alignment based, right? And the alignment wasn't quite there. So Pokemonemaker changing the narrative, 1-1. I think we see ElCalvisimo just bring that Typhlosion back. I think he's like, yeah, I wasn't happy. I'm bringing it. But, I mean, that Talonflame really did a lot of great work for ElCalvisimo there. Yeah,
I do think so. And it really just, again, speaks to the fact that he has 6 Pokemon that can all work for him. Regardless of whether he's running 1 Incinerate, 2 Incinerate users, or whichever, or have we ever seen him run none yet? I don't think so.
No, I don't think he's running none. I think his team is too strong using both of them. So here we go into match number 3, and we have that Typhlosion into the Credilli, and we know this is such a great matchup because it does just outpace that Credilli as long as you get your timing right. But we will see. It will ElCalvisimo go straight for that blast burn, or will they try and sneak a little bit of extra damage in here? No, both trainers getting the great timing there, and out comes this first Rock Tomb.
Yeah, I have a terrible feeling that ElCalvisimo is going to go for the double blast burn at 100 energy here. One more Incinerate away from maxing out its energy, and now we'll be able to throw back-to-back blast burns. It doesn't matter if this Credilli shields, because another one will be coming right behind it. And do you really want to burn both shields on a Credilli? I don't think so.
Well, that's the decision you have to make, and Pokémonemaker has decided to let that decision be made. And here we go, and in this swap, out comes the Azumarill, because he's got the Furret in the back. So he's trying to draw out that Drapion, because that's likely what's in the back. I feel like ElCalvisimo's made quite a good read here. And here comes the first Rock Tomb. In comes Azumarill, takes that so well, even with the attack fall. And now we are just getting to that Ice Beam. Those Mud Slaps are starting to add up though, Steve.
Yeah, this is a bit of an awkward spot for both players to be in. Pokemonemaker doesn't want to see that Furret in the back coming into his Claydol. He doesn't know there's a Furret there, yeah. But ElCalvisimo is sort of like, I was really hoping we would swap out of this one. I kind of expect you to swap out. My Furret would be able to find this Claydol later. We would be fine. But instead, Claydol is staying in here, which isn't too bad. We've got so many attack debuffs on this to Azumarill, though, that now Pokemonemaker actually has an interesting opportunity here. He can try and get so much energy from this Azumarill, potentially a full Poison Sting down, though I don't think ElCalv will let him. Here comes the Typhlosion, and now there is a fair bit of energy on this Drapion with shield advantage, but look at that one Incinerate, how much damage it did.
It did a lot, but I think this is going to come down to charge moves, because we have two Thunder Punches locked in here, and even though Pokemonemaker has those two shields, he's going to need to have a fair bit of extra energy, because there's still a full HP Furret that they need to deal with here.
Yeah, and he doesn't really have a great answer to that Furret, to be honest with you. Once a Drapion sort of drops below that half health, one Swift is all that Furret is going to need to KO the Drapion. Claydol is really low as well, and isn't going to be able to KO Furret with one move either. We're seeing a lot of energy farmed up on this Drapion, knowing that he needs this energy for whatever might be in the back. He hasn't seen the Furret yet. He doesn't know what's back there. He's prepared for anything. Maybe it's a Talonflame. Maybe I can get some Aqua Tail damage in. But I think he's about to learn a hard truth that there is a Furret sitting there ready to go. Or even the Azumarill, you actually can swap in and try and soak some damage from the Drapion here. I think this just gives Drapion a full farm down.
It does, but I think it's now just down to fast move damage here. There's going to be two crunches. Will this Furret be able to survive two crunches? A debuff here will make a massive difference to the outcome of this match.
Exactly right. There is a 30% chance that the defense drops here, and that would be absolutely huge. There's a defense drop! Is this crunch now going to be enough?
This crunch will definitely be enough, and what we're going to see here is Pokemonemaker is going to be able to take out this Furret with a crunch, thanks to that debuff, going up 2-1. We are now right down to the wire here. Pokemonemaker taking out ElCalvisimo.
Oh my gosh, one game away from winning the Melbourne Regional Championship. It is a best of 5. If Pokemonemaker gets to win number 3, then we will see a champion crowned. But sometimes you have to find the win conditions, right? You need to go like, okay, my only way to win is getting this crunch debuff. I need to roll the dice, find that 30% chance, and he found it and able to get the win. That is such an incredible way.
Very, very tight there. I think the reason that ElCalvisimo came in with the Azumarill was that he knew that the Drapion was actually above energy, so it would actually get to 2 crunches before the Furret could actually get to 1 Swift. He had that little bit of residual energy on board, which meant he didn't even have to go for the catch. He could just play it out and be comfortable. And ElCalvisimo went in hoping that he would throw some energy and get a little bit stressed. But Pokemonemaker held his nerve brilliantly and was able to take out that third game. And we're really coming down to the pointy end of the tournament now, Steve.
Oh yeah, that was so impressively played. And this could be the final match of the Melbourne Regional Championships, and it's a Claydol mirror match.
A very interesting mirror match, this Claydol mirror, because Rock Tomb actually goes really well, because the debuff damage and you slightly pace quicker can be the difference in this matchup. If you're not used to this mirror, it does become a little bit unique, because it does have access to a wide range of moves. But look, it is going straight for that Ice Beam and a no shield here from Pokemonemaker.
This is really going to hurt Pokemonemaker's Claydol, bringing it right down to the red. I think that Pokemonemaker, she's actually going right back for the Ice Beam return, and ElCalvisimo's Claydol is just going to take it. I thought that maybe you save the energy, you come back later for the Typhlosion, but no, we're going for a hard swap into Furret and a hard swap into Credilli. This is a little bit of a better spot for this Credilli, because you don't care about the Swifts. The Trailblazers aren't too bad for you either, and these Rock Tombs are going to start adding up to the Furret.
It is, but I think we can all see what's coming now, is that it's a Typhlosion in the back, and if ElCalvisimo can get a little bit of extra energy on that Typhlosion, he'll be sitting very, very happy. Incoming with a Trailblaze to boost those sucker punches.
Yeah, Pokemonemaker needs energy on this Credilli when this matchup is over. He either needs to let this Credilli go, which I don't think is going to happen just because of how much damage the Credilli is able to output. He's actually going for the Grass Knot here. I like this play because this means instead of debuffing the Furret will now actually be doing a little bit more damage to the Credilli and maybe gives the Credilli a little bit less ability to be farmed by the Typhlosion. Interestingly, we actually see the Claydol come in, throwing the Rock Tomb, reducing the amount of damage that this Credilli would be able to do. But Pokemonemaker, he knows that there's a Typhlosion in the back. He knows that he needs his shields for that Drapion in the back, and we're going to see a hard swap in. Here's the swap as Typhlosion, and now it is down to the 2-shield scenario. These Incinerates are really going to add up.
They are going to add up, but look how fast this Drapion is getting to these Aqua Tails. It is almost at 2 already, and it is really tricky for ElCalvisimo to maneuver his way through these battles. Here comes the first Aqua Tail, 2, and there's a second. It's the 1-2, like you said, Steve, and it is going to be super tight here in this finish. Is ElCalvisimo able to deal enough fast move damage to take out this Drapion?
That is the question. That could decide who the Melbourne regional champion is. We're seeing this Incinerate go through, but the Aqua Tail comes in. There are no shields remaining. This Typhlosion is going to be taken out by this Drapion and Trotter. We are really getting to the pointy end of this battle. The Typhlosion going to go down, and now in comes the Claydol. One poisonous thing. The Mudslap takes it out.
There's still too many Pokemon there. Another Mudslap. And Pokémonemaker has won your Melbourne 2025 Regional Championships.
Wow, after fighting so hard through the Perth Regional Championships, finishing 3rd, he's fought all the way through this set, not dropping a single match all the way through. He needed this, Trotter. He needed this finish to qualify for the World Championships. He knew this was potentially his last opportunity to get that World's qualification invite, and he's got it with a 3-1 against ElCalvisimo, and has to feel really good right now.
Oh, you would be on top of the world. This is one of the hardest regions to actually get into that world qualification. Pokémonemaker has spent a huge amount of their own money in coming to Perth, coming to Melbourne to really get his dream of going to the World Championships, and it is his, and he can raise his hand very high and keep his head high. Fantastically played by Pokémonemaker.
He should be incredibly proud. ElCalvisimo was one of the toughest opponents to take down through this entire tournament, constantly just pushing the same strategy again and again and again, and no one was able to stop him. But Pokémonemaker was proving, I can stop him. I am the one that can stop ElCalvisimo in his tracks, even taking a first game loss. It looks like to me that ElCalvisimo might be pushing all the way through. You can see the bracket right here, Pokémonemaker. He actually took out ElCalvisimo 2-1 in the winners bracket before, then took out Fort Wire in a 3-0 decisive winners finals, and then still taking out ElCalvisimo 3-1 in the finals after losing game 1 and then reverse sweeping the entire best of 5 set. I mean, just such an incredible effort from Pokémonemaker.
Fantastically done. Has won the Pacific tournament here. We've had